At 4.5 games out of first place, the Guardians' hopes of getting into the playoffs are a little bit slim. But that doesn't mean they can't win any hardware this season. The battle for the illustrious Ohio Cup begins this week. We're going to break it all down for you and how the Guardians can get their hands on a piece of not just another piece of hardware.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. My only question is, what is more worthless, the Ohio Cup or whatever trophy they give for the World Baseball Classic? I think they're about both good for, maybe keeping something up that's fallen over or used as an extra leg if a chair leg.
Hey,
but that's the only value either of those things bring.
Mike Trout gave Shohei Ohtani some kind of big gesture about it earlier this year. Okay, it mattered to both of them. I thought you were going to say what matters less, the Ohio Cup or the Barge, the Great Lakes Classic for the Browns and Lions that I don't think they play anymore, which is
I think
travesty. That's the only piece of hardware the Browns have ever won, so why not? Why don't they keep playing that?
The thing I'll say I enjoyed this past weekend where you heard the announcer slowly turning on the World Baseball Classic and blaming it for Quantrell's issues and Naylor's issues. It's only a matter of time. I know people get excited, but I'm curious how much longer until that becomes minor league prospect of the world versus, Czechoslovakia's firefighters, as it was, I believe, this past year.
Czechoslovakia had ex-Cleveland catching prospect, remember?
I don't.
I forgot his name too, so I guess he was really memorable. Yeah. Oh, that team was not Czechoslovakia. They were a lot of fun.
Czech Republic or something like that.
The Czech Republic. That's not nice. Come on, they were a lot of fun. Martin Cervenka. Come on, Martin Cervenka. I had to pull that one out. You remember Martin Cervenka? Everybody listening remembers Martin Cervenka, I'm sure. It's
nodding my head a bunch right now, and I know we're going to start off with some prospect talk. I feel like there's not a ton for me to add right now, prospect wise. I was so neck deep in the draft that the last few times we've done this, I handled the prospect guys I want to talk about. So I'm just going to kind of kick back and let Justin talk prospects here in segment one. That's going to be the end of me, and then I'll jump back in for the mailbag. But there really isn't too many guys jumping out. Again, we talked about who our top prospects are, and I talked about who I had where on that, and I don't have much to add. So now that I've said that, Justin, take it away.
Well, there's not much really to go on there, and I wasn't going to go there just yet. Actually, I was going to talk about real quickly. The Ohio Cup does start Tuesday, and you got Logan Allen and Graham Ashcraft on Tuesday, and Noah Syndergaard and Andrew Abbott on Wednesday. That should be interesting, especially how good Andrew Abbott has been, and the Guardians' penchant for not hitting left-handed pitching in Cincinnati.
By interesting, you mean painful.
Will Benson will likely be in the lineup Wednesday. That'll be fun. I'm sure no one will get upset about that. Should be a fun series. Should be a very fun series. Cal Quantrill is going to rehab Tuesday in Akron. I have no idea at this point what's going to happen with him. He was pretty bad in his last rehab start at Columbus, and
what baseball classic ruined his season? Just never been the same.
I'm just going to end the episode now.
Couldn't get on track with the team. He completed the World Baseball Classic ruined Cal Quantrill. He had 2.5 great years. Then what happens? He goes and does that, and now he can't even pitch in the big leagues. He's been ruined. He's been Plesac.
It really ruined Shohei Ohtani's season, obviously, because he's having an awful year. Yeah,
it did.
Stop ruining my fun, okay? Well, the way this Guardians season has gone, the most fun I've had all year was watching the World Baseball Classic. So it's been all downhill from there. Don't ruin my good time, man. Don't kill the vibes. So yeah, Cal Quantrill is going to start Tuesday. I mean, who really knows at this point what's going to happen with him? I think we'll talk about him a little bit with the pitching side of things. Some questions we have for later in the mailbag, and what the rotation is going to look like the rest of the year, and if you bring him back next year. Real quickly for Around the Farm. So I think Jeff probably mentioned in his bonus episode, Cooper Engel, the Clemson draft pick, was assigned to Lake County. That's a very aggressive assignment, truthfully.
I think they wanted Tincher and him to be everyday catchers. So he was the higher pick.
Tincher DH'd his second game and hasn't played since. So I think Tincher must have gotten hurt. So that's a bummer. Not a shock. He's 5'8".
Yeah.
Never seen a 5'8" catcher before.
He's 5'9", and he can do backflips.
I'm rooting for the guy. I just want to see
He's
a
future
coach.
Really do. Future coach.
Yeah. So Cooper Ingle, I actually got to watch him last week before the rain decided that there was no baseball allowed in Northeast Ohio the rest of the weekend. He was good. It looks like a guy who played in the ACC. Like the pitching in high A just really didn't overwhelm him. He was patient. He put the ball in play a couple times. He had an RBI double. I didn't see him catch, but just an aggressive assignment. That tells you where the Guardians minor league catching depth sits right now. Like, is Cooper Ingle okay? So, who is the best catching prospect right now in the minors? We had this conversation the other day. It's Ralphie Velasquez and Cooper Ingle 1-2, right?
Yeah, and Tincher is 3.
That's it.
What,
are we still counting? Are we still counting Lavastida?
Okay, so yes. So honestly, to me, it actually goes Velasquez, Lavastida, then probably Ingle, Tincher, and then you got like Mejias and his Turris, who are like kind of the high ceiling guys. But other than that, I mean, Logan Clark. I mean,
so they drafted 3 catchers this year, and 3 of them are immediately the top 5 prospects among their own position.
Yeah, top 4. I mean, they're easily top 4 amongst that position.
That says a lot. Yeah, Cooper Ingle, though, looks like a dude who played in the ACC and is like, pitching in high A is not much better than low A, and it's not going to overwhelm him. He probably won't have a hard time controlling the zone until he gets to double A, but, good start for him. I watched some of Jordan Humphrey's first start Saturday. It was his first, he was the Guardians' 8th round pick in 2022. Is that right?
Sounds about right. Yeah,
Jordan
8th or
Humphreys,
9th. Yeah. And they gave him significantly over slot, him and Zibin.
Yeah, so he made his non-complex league debut on Saturday. It did not go well. He got out of the first inning just fine. The second inning fell apart. He just had no command of anything, truthfully, at that point. So,
So Cooper Ingle and Tincher have the exact same number of at-bats. So apparently since you saw him, he hasn't played again.
Well, yeah, Ingles only played 2 games, and Tincher Tincher played 1 1/4 games. Yeah. And then you mentioned which guys have already been assigned, right? So you've got, I know Jay Driver pitched the other day down in the ACL, so he made his debut finally. Mooney is up at Lynchburg. CJ Kafis hit his first home run on Saturday. That was fun. Notice that CJ Kafis played left field in that game, by the way, Jeff, and he has like no leg kick. I don't know if it was a 2-strike approach, but he has 0 leg kick. Like there was no leg movement going on there in terms of load. That was very interesting to see.
Yeah, it's we'll have to see how it goes with him. I like that they're playing him in left field. Here's the thing. Let's be honest. This team gets so little offensive production. He has a chance to be a league average bat, and that'll play anywhere. First base, anywhere. Like league average is something they aspire to right now. So CJ Kafis, it's great. But he's only going to be first base or left field. There isn't the arm for anything else. No,
and he's a kid coming from the ACC who also is playing in low A, which means he's already faced better pitchers.
Destroyed.
Yeah, he faced better pitchers in college. He's going to see in low A. I noticed Jacob Bresnahan was pitching again tonight as we were starting the show. Driver pitched. Keegan Zinn has pitched. Zane Morehouse has pitched twice. Kyle Scott has pitched. Matt Jasek has pitched twice. Harlow has pitched. And Velasquez, Ingle, Tincher, Mooney, Kafis, Hawk, Avancula, and Reebok have all played at various levels. The only guys that haven't played so far are Knapsick. And I think Wilkinson has not pitched. Clemmy hasn't pitched. Walters hasn't pitched. And Javi Torres, and Jake Berry have not pitched. Everybody else has played, I think.
So I don't expect some of those guys to play.
Clemmy and Walters, I'm guessing, won't. Clemmy because he's a high school pitcher, and Walters because he pitched so many innings this year in college. I would expect not to. I'm not sure why Knapsick hasn't played yet, but he's about the only one.
He had a heel injury towards the end of the year. It felt like. I feel like there was an injury with him that could be reflective now.
Yeah. There was a good story, too. If you guys have a chance to check it out, I think I retweeted it, but it was a story on Angel Zarate that was written at MLB.com, too, about how his journey went from being at North Carolina and just how he had to fight to be a starter at that school when he wanted to always play there. So he didn't take the easy route of transferring. It was a good story. And Angel Zarate has played well at low A. He should be at high A right now. No offense to Isaiah Green. Seems like a good kid, but Isaiah Green was on the developmental list for like 2 months, a month. And even when DeLauder got hurt a second time, he didn't come back off the developmental list. They should have Zarate up there because he needs the at-bats. But that's all I got.
Hard because Fox and Lampy are playing every day out there.
And DeLauder,
And DeLauder. So even if you give him a call up, I will just throw this out there because they're names we've talked about, and I went to the team stuff, and so I'm going to lie. But in the last 30 days, Wilfredo Antunio's a 910 OPS, 349 average is nice to see. And then
he had a 5 for 5 day last week.
Jose Devers has an even higher OPS, a over 1.021 with a 645 slugging. He's hit 6 home runs. I think almost all of his home runs have come in the last 22 games.
They have,
Yeah. So he's, we've talked about him a little bit here and there, and you were talking about him before we got in the air. No, I'm sorry. He has 8 home runs total. So he's hit 6 in the last 22 games.
Yeah. 6 between July and August. Yeah. Angel Janau too is starting to come around too. Angel Janau has a 784 OPS since July 13th, and he has got pretty solid strikeout and walk rates and a 304 BABIP. So defense has been a little rough down there, but there are some hitters in Lynchburg that have been interesting. So that's good to see because this has been, a lost season up until the last month or so. Yes. All right, we've got mailbag questions to get to, a ton of them. So let's take a second and run through those when we come back.
It's officially summer, and a new season means new clothes. It's almost fall, more new clothes. But your closet shouldn't be the only thing growing when you make those purchases. Now you can watch your cash back grow with each purchase with Ibotta. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. It's that easy. The average Ibotta user earns $120 a year. That's $120 of mad money, fun money, new router money, if you're me. That could cover the cost of your entire shopping trip. Or you can use that cash back to buy the flight you've been eyeing. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash back that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. You can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too when you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora's, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibotta is offering listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta. Use the code MLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app. Use the code MLB. That's IBOTTA in Google Play or App Store, and use the code MLB.
Guardians and Reds start the battle for the illustrious Ohio Cup on Tuesday in Cincinnati at 6:40. You can catch the hometown broadcast on your Sirius XM app. Just search Guardians to listen to the broadcast. All right, Jeff, are you ready for mailbag time?
I sure am.
We've got a lot of good questions. Thank you all for reaching out on YouTube and Twitter with questions. I do appreciate you guys chiming in on an off day. This will be a good one because a lot of people want to talk about Johnathan Rodriguez. So we'll start with Jake. Do you think all the shortstops start the season on the 40-man? Do you think one will get moved this offseason? Do you think the front office has any plans to add outfield help for 2024? And how? What are Johnathan Rodriguez's chances? Okay, so let's start with the shortstop. Which of the shortstops in the 40-man roster will still be here next year?
I think all of them are likely right now with the current group. I think Tena is the one that could still be potentially on the block since they called him up just to be a backup. I think that kind of states enough. I know he's playing every day, but he's also kind of, we'll see. They just still have that huge grouping. And when Freeman's back, he's going away. So I think there's a chance he could be the one that goes.
And that's going to happen, I think, tomorrow, if not Wednesday. It sounds like that Freeman's going to join the team in Cincinnati. So they don't activate him for Tuesday's game. It might be Wednesday. So, Tena will go back down. Look, I think unless they decide that they need to turn around and flip Juan Brito for something, I think he's still here, even though I don't think he's a shortstop.
He's not a shortstop.
No, he's been playing shortstop, but he's not a shortstop. Angel Martinez likely not a shortstop long term. It would be, I don't know. the frequency of who's been playing shortstop is very confusing. Like Gabby Arias has played third and first a little bit because of the injury to Josh Naylor and because Jose Ramirez's suspension. So he's gotten some time a little bit there. I don't need to see Gabby Arias play shortstop defensively. I think we know what he is there. We need to see the bat, right? So I would, if I'm Cleveland, I want to see Rocchio playing shortstop every day, and I'm just going to move Gabby around between third base and first base and DH or whatever the rest of the year, because you know what he can do defensively. You don't know what he can do offensively, and Rocchio you've got to see more of. So I think both will still be here next year. If I had to count on one, I'm thinking Freeman or Martinez, or both. One of them will be gone if they can convince someone. I'm not saying these guys don't have trade value. I'm just saying if they can convince someone to give them what they're looking for one of these guys. Like that's been the hard part of all this is they just haven't found anybody to take that. All right,
and I just don't see that coming together. Like those values are so low on them right now, and they almost never sell low.
Yeah, we're gonna. Well, I would say Freeman's value is what it is. I don't think it's gotten any lower. I think he just kind of is what he is. I don't think it has changed a lot.
I mean, Martinez is kind of lower, so I think Martinez is on like good move. Freeman is what he is. Arias, I don't know. Maybe someone really falls in love with what he can do defensively.
Yeah,
no, I agree. I think they're just going to sit and much. I know we have so many questions, but much like we talked about with Benson, Gonzalez, and Jones, right? Like Gonzalez had the least trade value. They trade the two guys who had trade value. They'll probably do the same thing, right? Just look for who actually has value.
Yeah, which it might actually be Arias. So I would say Rocchio probably has the most value of the three, but I don't think they'll trade Rocchio, truthfully. And if they do, that would be wild. Okay, so Jake wanted to ask about Johnathan Rodriguez, so did Zach. So let's combine these questions. What do we make of the season, Johnathan Rodriguez? Is he a lock to be out of the 40-man roster? I'm going to say I think they're definitely going to add him to the 40-man roster because
I don't think he's a lock.
Okay, I don't think we have the time to have this conversation in depth. But what we can do is quickly run through it. Here's the guys that could come off the 40. Karinchak probably comes off the 40 at the end of the season. They're probably going to non-tender him. You can non-tender Michael Kelly. You can non-tender Daniel Norris. Noah Syndergaard is off the roster. Cam Gallagher's off the roster. That's 5. Cole Calhoun. That's 6 right there. And after that, you've got to re-add Bieber and McKenzie. So that gives you 4 spots to play with just there alone. And what did we say were the guaranteed ads?
Espino is the easy one.
That's the only one I think you have the guarantee to add. Everybody else is kind of a question mark. So
it comes down to Rodriguez. It comes down to Lavastida. It comes down to Diane Frias. It comes down to, did I say Antunes already? Like there's some guys that it comes down to at that point in time.
Yeah, and Hank, you have to consider. I kind of think that Rodriguez is a lock only from this standpoint. It would be foolish of them to not add him, let somebody else take him for nothing, and just find a guy who ends up being a low end DH in the major leagues. Which I don't think Rodriguez is much different than Oscar Gonzalez at this point. I don't, but I think there's enough there, and you don't have a whole lot.
Got a 44% K rate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of difference there, but I'm just saying in terms of overall profile, you're not going to get a whole lot different from him offensively. It's a DH profile. My only thing here is if you let him walk and he ends up having you have the space right now. You have the 40-man space to add him. So at worst, what you can do when the season ends is you can add him to the 40. And if you go out and you figure out you can make an outfield addition upgrade somewhere, you can move him off the 40-man later. You can, you have some spots to play with this offseason. There's not as bad of a crunch as there has been in the past. If you add him, you can go out, and if you can find a way to upgrade the major league outfield this year and you feel like you have to take him off the 40 because you legitimately upgraded your outfield power-wise, okay. But I would say just protect him until you have an upgrade. Like if you can't upgrade, then you have a chance.
No,
but
there's logic. I don't think it's a slam dunk. That's all. I think there are situations where they decide that, hey, we're going to carry an open spot or two, and maybe they try to attack. Like
I'll give it 60. I'll give it 60-40 odds right now. 60% yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, Frias, Frias could get through because of his defense and his batted ball, but
kind of the same as Rodriguez too.
Lavastida. Well, Frias can play short though. Frias can. I wouldn't say he's great, but he can play short. He can play second. He can play third. Lavastida, I think if you don't add him, he's going to get taken just because it makes a lot of sense for someone to take a chance on him at this point. So you've got two spots right there with two to play with. If you want to leave one open, you go between Frias, Hankins, and Rodriguez. But unless you reasonably upgrade the spot, it's worth taking the shot.
I think they go Hankins over Rodriguez, honestly, just with the history of putting hard throwing guys in lower minors. I think, I could see neither as well, but I think Hankins over Rodriguez, just because they have a history of going pitching in those lower minors over hitters.
I just think the odds of Hankins being taken is so low because he just hasn't pitched enough and he hasn't been consistent this year. And he hasn't pitched above high A. It's so rare to take a guy from that. Like, it's one thing if it's double A, but a guy who has not pitched above high A is very rare to take.
But they don't risk it. Like Oviedo, Salazar, Vargas, they typically don't risk it with guys with velocity. Like they just don't play around. They don't even give that opportunity.
Which they probably shouldn't have, because with Vargas they shouldn't have, obviously, because it didn't make a difference. Yeah. Let's squeeze one more in before we take one more break. So does Andres Gimenez have a shot at 2 Gold Gloves in a row? When's the last time a Cleveland player won 2 in a row? I've got the answer.
Roberto Perez. It just happened recently.
Yeah, 19 and 20 was the last time you did that. If you want to ask somebody,
Roberto Alomar was second base, right? Last time that happened there.
The last time it happened was at second base was Roberto Alomar. Omar Vizquel did it that year as well. There's been a lot of guys who won 2 in a row.
I believe had
Sizemore won 2 in a row. Lofton won 2 in a row.
Did.
Yeah, so a lot of guys have done it.
I think Ray Vossi back in the day as well, before he got ran over, would have been the other.
I have not looked at any. Yeah, I have not looked at any defensive metrics in terms of who's doing the best at second base, but I wouldn't. I could imagine he's probably got a shot to win a second in a row. No, I mean, he's played pretty well, and you haven't heard anything bad about. Nobody's written about, oh man, Andres Gimenez's defense has regressed. Like, no one said that. So, because people talked about Miles Straw and how his defensive metrics regressed, right? Like, and that was kind of fluky, but no one's written the same article about Andres Gimenez.
So I'm at the Fielding Bible, and he is number 1 total run saved among second basemen.
Yeah, DRS is 13, outs above average is 6. Looks like Marcus Semien and Nico Horner are above him.
There are worlds where Marcus Semien will win because Texas is good and
the bat, and he's hitting
the defender and the bat. So there is a chance he doesn't, but I think Gimenez has a good shot at it.
It'll be pretty close. Yeah, it'll be pretty close, and he's played really well. All right, we've got lots of mailbag questions still to go, so please stick with us. We're going to get all your questions answered on today's Locked On Guardians. All right, we told you to take the over on the Guardians win-loss on FanDuel this year. I'm sorry. We lost your money if you listened to us. I'm so sorry. What I won't do is I will not give you any NFL picks because that is not my forte. Football season is about to kick off very soon, and FanDuel is going to give you the chance to win all season long. I'm going to give you the chance by not influencing your picks. Right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win during the regular season. Well, that's fun. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl. Any team, even the Browns, even as far-fetched as the Browns. And you're going to get bonus bets for every victory they have this year. How many is that going to be, Jeff? You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. And that's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Guardians, Reds, Tuesday, the Ohio Cup, Logan Allen and Graham Ashcraft. Listen to all the action on the SiriusXM app. Just search Guardians. All right, Jay Fagan, let's see. Oh, got something.
I was just going to say, I mean, I was more excited personally by Cleveland being on the Immaculate Grid today. Let's just take a moment.
I'm going to spoil you one. Ricky Leday. Ricky, if you're not,
I did it as well.
Ricky Leday, if you are not, okay.
That was mine as well.
If you're on Twitter and you don't follow Ricky Leday, one of the most underrated Twitter accounts out there. The guy, I'm not sure he knows how to use Twitter, but when he tweets, it's hilarious. I have his notifications turned on, along with Jeff Passett and Zach Meisel and my wife.
Just with him Geyer when it was a little higher than I hoped.
You didn't go with I had better options for Tampa
Hunter
Bay.
Wood.
Cleveland. Hunter Wood, Grady Sizemore. Grady Sizemore.
Yeah.
Danny's Baez.
I mean, Geyer was 2%, so it's not like he was super high.
What was my Baez one? I didn't even look. Now I'm curious. Thanks for distracting me.
So outfielders. While you're looking this up, I'll throw this out. Here are the names: Cody Bellinger, Teoscar Hernandez, Michael Conforto, Joey Gallo, Kevin Kiermaier, Joe Peterson, Jorge Soler, Harrison Bader, Andrew McCutchen, Charlie Blackmon, Michael Brantley, Tommy Pham, Mark Kaneha, Adam Duvall. And that's where I kind of stop. I'm kind of intrigued again by Adam Duvall. I don't think
he can play defense and he can hit bombs, but guess what? He strikes out too much for this team.
But they ran with Zunino last year because he could play defense.
That's true.
And do bombs. That's
true.
Bombs.
They will. They will sacrifice strikeouts if you can play defense.
He's a good teammate, and he's a right-handed bat who, you just kind of go out and he can be a defensive replacement. He's going to be 35.
What kind of contract do you think Jorge Soler is getting? Because I would personally love to see Jorge Soler on this team. I know there's so much risk involved with him, and he is going to.
I mean, he can't play. He's a DH. You can't. No, he's not. No,
they Jorge have a lot
Soler
of.
Can't run. Yeah, he does. You know who I kind of like? It's just because he always kills them. But it's like part of me wouldn't mind Max Kepler, who's going to be like 31.
Everyone's just been waiting for that breakout season for the last 5 years. The only time he's ever any good is when he faces Trevor Bauer. I'm gonna pass.
He hits Cleveland. He's a 107 OPS plus this year, so
I'm gonna pass. Hey, Jorge Soler, by the way, this year, Jeff, 24% strikeout rate. That is a career low for him.
Yeah, and you know what happens every time he has like one of these years, and then it goes into like
he gets a big fat contract, and he stinks,
and then he stops working. Like he is not a guy who's going to put in the time. He is not a guy you pay. And again, I know you're going to say no, but like I say Gallo. Like I know people don't like it, but 20 home runs, good defensive rating.
Will do it. That's way too many strikeouts for the Guardians. They will not. That's not a profile they will take a chance on. All of the. If you look at Jorge Soler's Savant page, it's all.
Oh, you know who it's going to be. I know who it's going to be. It's going to be Jess Winker, right?
They did try to make that trade a couple of years ago. Yeah, there you go.
He was terrible this year. So
all right, we gotta run through some more questions here. So here's one I know you're going to want to talk about. Have Fry and Lavastida shown enough? The front office might consider going with Naylor, Lava, Fry, catcher in 2024 rather than use a veteran. I say no. This team always wants a veteran backup. No,
it's not going to happen. As much as I think yes.
Fry is kind of a gadget player anyway. Like he is a guy that he could be. He's only a third catcher. That's like his last
and
position.
Lavastida has 2 options left, so they're not
going to burn that.
So no, it'll be a vet. Yeah. I say yes. They'll say no.
We just talked about this one a few seconds ago. The season today. Who would your Rule 5 ads be right now? Espino. You would add Cade Smith. He was throwing 98 the other day, by the way.
I mean, he'd be. Honestly, right now, it's like Espino, Smith, and Lavastida would be my top 3. And I think I would put Diane Frias 4, Johnathan Rodriguez 5, Antuna 6, and Hankins 6, Antuna 7. But that'd be my top 7.
I would say Espino, Lavastida. Honestly, I can make a case that's it. I can make a case that there's.
Yeah, I mean those are the 2. I mean, I think Cade Smith might get taken just because relievers are so easy. So I'm likely to make him my 3.
Yeah. How much would it be? How nice would it be for the Guardians to have Kevin Kelly right now with this massive
exactly
crap right now? Okay, Vinny. This is another one for you, Jeff. Why wouldn't the Guardians pursue a guy like Dominic Canzone via Rule 5 or trade? Deadline for a bullpen arm. What do you think they didn't like? Seems to be exactly needing a corner. Well, Jeff had 3 episodes on Dom Canzone. He is Dom Canzone's 1%er.
At the same time, like Paul Sewald is better than anyone Cleveland was going to trade at the deadline. So there is that degree of it that he went for more.
Wasn't he a rental? Isn't Paul Sewald a rental?
No, he's a 1.5. They have him for next year as well. He was not.
Los Santos,
Sewald's much better. But Canzone just hasn't hit in the big leagues, and that's the thing. Like he's got great tools, and I would love to see him get an extended opportunity somewhere. But yeah, I mean, it's a limited profile, and I think that they just, They want more physicality and tools. I don't think anyone ever thinks he's going to be a plus defender. Everything he's gotten through is hard work, and maybe he is the next, Adam Duvall. But they never take that gamble on guys with that profile.
Like you said, Kai Tom, right? Kai Tom was kind of like that. Ethan, realistic trade target, like to see a team go after. Do you think Luis Robert can be an option? No, I don't think so. They never trade in the division, so no Luis Robert.
There's no reason that the White Sox would trade him with his contract. It'd be silly.
No, they really shouldn't. I'm going to say it. I'm not against Jorge Soler. I know he's not an outfielder. He's a DH, but I'm not against Jorge Soler.
I am 100% against him because every time that dude gets paid, he then puts forth no effort and disappears off the face of the... Because I was like, he should be the number one trade target after he blew up in Kansas City. And then after that great year, he has not put 2 good years together. I mean, he was bad. He was like
he was bad last year.
He was terrible last year. He worked his way out of Kansas. No. I think they should trade for Corbin Carroll. I'm kidding, obviously.
Oh my God.
What do you think of like Jack Sawinski in Pittsburgh? Does he K too much? It's an interesting profile. He's been offensively productive. I'd really have to dive into his numbers. I know his average is terrible. Taylor Ward is an interesting buy low. He's playing better of late. That'd be my guy. Like if they could figure out a trade. The problem right now is one could argue that Anaheim's not going to sell, and they need outfielders more than they need pitching. Their pitching's finally coming together. So I don't know if Taylor Ward's available, but he'd be my guy.
My pick is Shane Bieber for Joey Weimer. I'm trying to find a way to get Joey Weimer on this team.
Joey Weimer is not their guy either. If you want to talk about guys who don't fit their profile.
Plus defense in center field. We just talked about how they would sacrifice strikeouts for plus defense. He is a plus defender in center field
who struggles with contact at like a really high rate.
So did Mike Zunino.
I mean, he's almost Gallo-esque in the early goings with his.
Great, that's right. You want Joey Gallo? I want Joey Weimer.
I do. I know. I'm just saying that for the same reasons you don't think they're going to take Gallo. I don't think Weimer's a guy, and I feel like that'd be an underpay, honestly, right now. Like Milwaukee isn't even believing in Weimer.
No, I don't think they're going to take Shane Bieber for Joey Weimer because of the injuries. And our buddy Chuck, speaking of Shane Bieber, where's he going to pitch next year? What will the Guardians outfield be? Well, obviously, Shane Bieber is going to pitch for the Brewers next year, and Joey Weimer is going to be the Guardians starting center field. Right? Just said that.
I think he's still going to be with Cleveland. I think they believe that getting him to rehabilitation, either it's going to be play out the year and get a draft pick because the draft pick is probably more valuable than Weimer, or you can trade him at the deadline and get more than that. Like a team's going to step up and offer something. We have seen Darvishes of the world, even as rentals, get pretty big offers at the deadline. Teams always
depends on the market.
Teams
depends
always
on the market.
Pitching.
The market was bad this year. So.
I don't know was it? I mean, look what Savali netted. Look at what some.
Well, no, I'm saying the market. There wasn't much on the market, so prices were higher.
Oh yeah.
If there's more availability next year, then your prices are not going to be. The return won't be as good. So I don't know. It depends on
availability last year, and it turned out well for every team that sold. And you look at all the arms that got traded a year ago too. So pitching always sells.
All right, 3 more. We're already running over, so we might as well get these in. Our buddy Pat wants to know how we feel about Bo Naylor's defense so far. As expected, like she's shown flashes. He's shown, it's
good enough.
It's fine. Yeah, I mean, I think you see the flashes.
It's good enough.
We've seen the good. We've seen the youth in him. I think. I don't think he's ever going to. Well, pretty soon that's not going to matter.
Yeah. So we keep saying we've been saying that for a while. Hopefully it'll change. His pop times aren't great. His framing isn't great. I don't know. You see various people with stuff out there. I think he is a below average defender right now. Like he is solidly at 35 to 40. I think he's probably a 40. But there's enough stuff when you look at the full picture. These are below average, and hopefully he's going to grow and get better. But I think
I think he'll get to average someday as a defender.
Yes,
I think the tool
now
there. Yes. Right now, it's been you've seen the ups and the downs. You've seen the talent, you've seen the rawness. I think that's where it's at right now. But there's enough there to make me believe he's going to be an average defender at worst.
Yeah.
Skittles said, "Our Gabriel Arias' contact problem is a platoon issue than an overall issue. Can't find platoon contact rates, but the strikeout rate is much lower against right-handers. He still strikes out a lot. Like the strikeout rate against right-handers is just as bad as it's not as bad as lefties, but it's still bad. He's never made a guy who's made a lot of contact in the minors. That was always the concern.
Yeah.
The left-handed thing, I don't know. Like splits in the minors say that he couldn't hit lefties in AAA. That's such a small sample. It's so hard to say, especially in the minor leagues. So it could be a season where he just hasn't. He has looked lost against lefties. I mean, he has.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. But I feel like he's not as bad against lefties as he's shown this year. But contact issues have always been a problem for him. That's what was always going to hold his ceiling back.
No, agree. Yeah, I think still let him go and see what he can do, but because they don't have anything else. But when I look at this team, I think that is a big part of his issue. It just let him hit righties, and going into next year, righties and nothing else.
If he's still here, who knows? He might not be on this team next year. We got a lot of questions about. We didn't talk about him today, but Franco Aleman has been on the mind of a lot of people. He's pitched very well, so
number one reliever in the system.
Yeah, I mean, he has to be at this point. Truthfully, he has been really fantastic. I mean, I'd caution to say that at AA, he's dominated, but just
we've seen a lot of guys on the other side of it. We got excited. I got excited about Robert Broom, Nick Miklo-Jack. We've seen a lot of guys. Francisco Perez, who just signed somewhere. I saw in the old friend alerts. So it is. Yeah. We see a lot of guys really excel down there. So I have to see what happens with the next step. But I think he is. It's him and Walters are the top two for me, and then a gap.
Yeah. There's a big gap between after that. I mean, there's Cade Smith, who we both like a little bit, but needs to work on his control. I'm trying to think who else is even down there in terms of relievers, but there's a lot of who's at Columbus. I mean, we still like Nick Enright. Nick Enright's still working his way back. Yeah, Tanner Burns is a reliever now. I don't really love that.
Davis Sharp, I think, might be the in that Cade Smith group, just in terms of ceiling and some of the positive traits.
Yeah, he doesn't walk anybody. I think to me he's another Nick Sandlin. So there is that. All right, well, that's pretty much all the questions we should probably fit in at this point. We've gone pretty long. Thank you all for your questions.
PD Halpin just isn't good, Nimzio. Sorry, he's just not doing enough. He's too high of a K rate. He looks like a Miles Straw without slightly step down defense. So just go ahead and make that statement. He's just not good enough. You came at me earlier this year about him, and he has continued to stay below league average.
Yep, he is a left-handed Miles Straw, but he strikes out a lot more, so that's a concern. Yeah. He's still young. We'll see.
He's got chance. All right, well, I mean, I liked him a lot in his draft class, so we'll see. He is young. Give him another year.
We'll revisit. We'll talk about Cal Quantrill's rehab start. We'll talk about the Reds Guardians tomorrow, the Ohio Cup. Everybody get excited for that. We'll talk a little bit more about the rookie pitching staff, and Jose Ramirez is back. So we'll probably talk about some roster moves on the Guardians roster.
When they cut tomorrow's show as well, holding the team back, right?
That's right. You'll find out tomorrow. Jose Ramirez is looking for a new home. Obviously,
they can trade him through waivers, right? Based on the comments we saw on. I'm kidding. You can't. Please don't listen to that.
Get him for Pete Alonso right now.
Yeah. Listen, thank you all for being part of the Locked On Guardians team. Rate and review, download daily. All of that fun. It helps. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.